Spokesperson Sammy Wilson, MP for East Antrim. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
Indeed. To a certain extent, it's all your fault. I mean, if you'd given Mrs May a thumbs up yesterday, she would have brought MV3 back and might have won.
Well, she wouldn't have, because of course she still has huge difficulties within her own party. A number have left her own party who are determined to vote against the withdrawal agreement. There are many within her own party who, regardless of what we would do, would still be voting against it. And why would we vote for something which we believe is so toxic, which we now see is so unnecessary? Because of course the Irish government over the weekend announced that even in the event of a no deal, they have now put arrangements in place which will not necessitate any checkpoints along the border, which is, of course, what was the withdrawal agreement was partly predicated upon, that you had to avoid a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic. Now the Irish government are saying this was all a bit of a myth in the first place. So, I mean, why would we vote for an agreement which cuts Northern Ireland off from the rest of the United Kingdom, which keeps the United Kingdom in the customs union and the single market on a premise which has now been exposed
I mean, the reason why you vote for it is if you got the Irish government said you got nothing to fear from it, why make a big issue of it?
Because the Irish government and the EU are still insisting that we have the terms of the withdrawal agreement imposed upon the people of the United Kingdom, and it's done for only one purpose. We now can see through the very, very transparent strategy which they had. They have created a problem or said there was a problem along the Irish border, which has now admitted there's not. But the whole point of the withdrawal agreement is to ensure that the terms of the withdrawal agreement would then become the basis on which any future relationship with the EU would be based, and that would mean us staying in the customs union and the single market, and that would not be Brexit. So, you know,
both of which might be quite beneficial for the Northern Irish economy.
Well, they wouldn't be beneficial for the Northern Ireland economy because,
of course,
well, no, because the backstop, if it was put in place and the EU
no,
insisting
I'm not saying backstop.
there,
I'm saying staying in the customs union or indeed the single market might be quite beneficial for the Northern Irish economy.
Well, why would it? It wouldn't be beneficial for the GB economy. So why would it be beneficial for the?
Well, I'm not sure that's the case. I mean, the suggestion is that coming out of those bodies, coming out of the European Union, will lead to less growth across the UK.
Well,
that's what the British government says.
Well, the British government, of course, and the Treasury predictions in the past have been totally wrong. We were told that immediately after...
But why would it be good for Northern Ireland not to be in the customs union?
Because it would be good for the United Kingdom not to be in the customs union or the single market for the very reasons that were put forward during the referendum campaign, namely that it gives us freedom to strike our own trade deals with those parts of the world which are growing most rapidly at present.
Which are compared to the European Union or compared to the trade within.
Would avoid us being tied to EU regulations, which are being
compared to our trade with the European Union.
No,
well,
it might be tiny compared to the European Union at present, but don't forget that's the part of our trade which has been expanding, and the percentage of our trade with the European Union has been declining. And where is all of the world's growth being predicted for the future? Not in the European Union, but in the rest of the world. And the rest of the world, countries
100% growth of 10% takes you to 20%, whereas what we're talking about is nearly 50% of trade with the European Union.
Yes, but Adam, you're assuming that if we were to leave the European Union, we would no longer trade with the European Union. That's not the case.
No, I'm just saying that a customs union and a single market would make it easier. I mean, look, the European Union yesterday...
the European Union would want us to have that trade
made it clear that they're going to, by international law, by World Trade Organization rules, if we leave without a deal, they're going to have tariffs on goods, which is going to mean more cost to consumers, more cost to your voters.
Well, of course, the reciprocal of that is that European goods coming into the United Kingdom would have tariffs placed on them as well. And I don't think that, given the fragile economy now of the French, or the fragile state of the French economy and the German economy, they want that kind of arrangement. So, you know, let's not give in.
All right, let's just talk tactics. And you said to me, why would we support this deal? Well, the argument the Prime Minister is going to put to you is if you don't support this deal, you might get something worse. You might get Britain remaining in the customs union and the single market. you might get the disruption of no deal. So you ought to support this deal. That's what she's saying to you, isn't it?
And you see, Adam, you're asking us to compare what we know for certain. We know for certain that this deal will break up the United Kingdom, will forever keep the United Kingdom tied to the European Union, will tie our hands when it comes to future trade negotiations for something which might happen. And, you know, the big assumption is, first of all, that this taking over of the Brexit agenda by Parliament is going to...
The alternatives to the plan are no deal or soft Brexit, both of which would be worse than her deal, wouldn't they?
No, you asked me the question, so let me finish it. The one thing we do know for certain is what is contained within the withdrawal agreement. And the withdrawal agreement requires the break-up of the United Kingdom. It sets the agenda for what the future trade relationships with the EU would be, which would keep us in the single market and the customs union and keep us paying into the EU. That's what we know for certain. What we don't know is what might happen now that Parliament has got the vote that went through last night. I suspect that you're going to find that there'll be no clear alternative coming from Parliament, and even if a clear alternative did come from Parliament, who is going to negotiate?
So in that case, we end up with no deal, leaving with no deal, which would be worse, would it not, than the withdrawal agreement?
No, it would not, because of course, we would prefer to have a deal, and that's what we've been working towards.
But you would prefer no deal to the present deal.
But I'll tell you one thing: I prefer no deal to a deal which does the damage to the UK economy.
That the Prime Minister's agreed.
That does the damage to the UK economy, which does the damage to our constitution, and which does the damage to Northern Ireland, that this deal does.
I've just got to ask you one thing about, sort of basic political honour. I mean, the DUP did sign on to confidence and supply with the government. There was some taxpayers' money given to Northern Ireland as a result of that. In terms of honour, shouldn't you therefore support what Mrs May and the Cabinet are proposing?
Well, I think if you're looking at in terms of honour, you should really look at what the Prime Minister is preparing to do to Northern Ireland. We entered into an agreement, a confidence and supply arrangement with the government of the United Kingdom to deliver on what she promised on Brexit, which she is not delivering, and on her domestic agenda. We did not sign up to a confidence supply arrangement which would have seen Northern Ireland detached from the rest of the United Kingdom. That was never, ever part of the deal, and that's now where we have wandered towards because of the way in which the Prime Minister has conducted her negotiations and because of the outcome of those negotiations. And I don't think that anyone would expect us to, simply because we're in a confidence supply arrangement with them, to sign up to our own death warrant constitutionally. And I would also point out to you, of course, the government would not have been in place today had it not been for the honourable way in which we have dealt with the confidence supply arrangement. We have saved them in a confidence motion in the House of Commons. We have delivered 20% of the domestic agenda, which they wouldn't have got through without us, and they got 50% of the legislation required to leave the EU through as a result of DUP votes. So I think we have actually kept our side of the bargain. Disappointingly, the Prime Minister hasn't kept her side of the bargain by signing up to a withdrawal agreement which would see Northern Ireland detached from the rest of the United Kingdom.
OK, Mr Wilson, thank you very much indeed for that.